Alright, welcome to Total Extreme Wrestling 2020. This is CelJaded playing Tuesday, week 4 of January 2006 on the Shifting Sands mod. And hey, it's the go-home show before the Royal Rumble. That's right, it's the very final episode of SmackDown before that historic pay-per-view kicks off. And even though there wasn't a tremendous amount of time to build towards it, remember that the Shifting Sands mod starts in January, we've done the best we can, and we still have this one episode left to get the storylines as developed as we can. So let's kick it off with the World Heavyweight Champion Batista, no less, arriving to talk about his mindset going into the Royal Rumble. So some solid promo time here for our champion Dave Batista, getting us started on the right foot here with a very strong promo and an opening segment showcasing himself, what he's all about, and of course his thoughts on who he's going to face at that show, because we still don't have a challenger named for Batista yet, but that is something we are very soon going to answer. And in our next segment, it is Batista's challengers arriving to promise their own success at the Royal Rumble. So we've got Batista, Bobby Lashley, Randy Orton and Mark Henry, all four men kind of at the top of the card at the moment. Randy Orton recently aligning himself with Mark Henry, antagonizing Dave Batista at every opportunity. But it is Mark Henry and Bobby Lashley that will have the opportunity to face Dave. But first they must face each other. So the main event tonight, of course, as announced last week, is going to be Mark Henry versus Bobby Lashley, with the winner of that match going to the Royal Rumble to face Batista for the World Heavyweight Championship. So even though Randy Orton is kind of antagonizing as best he can here, he will not be involved in that huge title match, but he may have some say on who is before the night is over. We'll just have to see what is in store. So a good couple of segments here from the top of the card to kick our show off on the right way. But next we got our very first match, and it's a tag team match coming up right now. Okay, so it's a decent match by the looks of it, where Kid Cash and Jamie Noble get the win of sorts over Chavo Guerrero and Tatanka by disqualification, because it is the hot-blooded Juventud Guerrera running in to attack Kid Cash here. So this is our storytelling match for the evening, and the story being the Mexicals, who are a rebellious faction of babyfaces who are doing everything in their power to undermine Shane McMahon here on SmackDown. So last week they targeted Kid Cash and Jamie Noble, Shane McMahon's team, of course. And tonight they're doing the exact same thing again. So the Mexicals are flying the ointment here for Shane McMahon, causing his team, upsetting his team in another match once again, not afraid to draw a DQ. And yeah, you can imagine when Shane McMahon learns of this news that there's going to be hell to pay. So more on that as the show develops. And then next, we've got an apologetic Trinity who tries to talk to Matt Hardy, but he ignores her and walks away. So this is spinning out of a short story segment we had last week, where an unnamed woman, in kayfabe at least, we know her as Trinity from these screens, but we have an unnamed woman trying to talk to Matt Hardy here, and Matt Hardy just wants nothing to do with this woman and keeps ignoring her and walking away at every opportunity he gets. So it is Matt Hardy up to face an opponent here, as he has a match coming up right now. So as he walks away from Trinity, we can see the look on his face as he approaches the ring for his next match, where it is a winning effort for him, where he gets a reasonably fast win over Stevie Richards. But the story of this match is that strange woman, again in kayfabe, Trinity, shows up at ringside and kind of watching the match very intently, with Matt Hardy kind of throwing a few glances her way from the ring as well. So Matt Hardy gets the win, he exits the ring, and it is this woman, again, Trinity, trying to talk to Matt Hardy as he leaves. And then when he ignores her for the third time on camera here, she gets visibly angry. So what is the deal between these two? We're going to have to wait for future segments to find out the answer, and even then it's not a sure thing with the way that Matt Hardy is reacting to Trinity's presence. So not the best segment ratings for these at the moment, which is pretty much expected because Trinity's popularity level is so low. This was an opportunity to inject a bit more storytelling onto the SmackDown brand. I was a little bit concerned that compared to Raw, some of the storylines are a bit generic. Probably on my part, just due to writer's fatigue. There's a tournament in there. There's a tag team division, kind of very basic story there as well. So I wanted something a little bit more kind of in-depth here to add to the SmackDown side. It's just the main thing is, especially when it comes to the female roster, there just isn't a lot of talent to work with at the moment, especially when it comes to popularity levels. So I don't know TEW that well. I'm hoping this is something you can fight through with younger workers in a televised environment. It does seem harsh otherwise that you'll always keep getting penalized for low popularity and segment ratings, and then presumably the low segment ratings won't help their popularity either. So I'm hoping it's not a vicious cycle there, but we'll see what we can do. I am very much experimenting with this one. And again, with the low segment ratings, this particular story will remain as more of a lower mid-card attraction overall. But again, just something a little bit fun, and hopefully it works out as we spend some more time with these characters telling this story that we've got lined up. So, on to the next segment. And it is Bobby Lashley returning from earlier to say he is focused on winning tonight's match and facing Batista at the Royal Rumble. So another opportunity to spotlight Bob ahead of his main event match where he will face Mark Henry to hopefully become #1 contender. So a nice little opportunity to put some shine on Lashley here. And then we've got Rey Mysterio warming up ahead of his match, which is coming up very shortly, when JBL appears to taunt him again. So JBL, as we saw last time, doesn't need an excuse to act like a bully backstage, and Rey Mysterio, with his head in his hands at this point, just has no clue what JBL's problem is. But yeah, some good stuff by the looks of it here between these two, and it is Rey Mysterio in action next, so let's get to that match as soon as we can. Oh wow, and a great rating at that. So good match here. Rey Mysterio delivering the goods as usual on SmackDown when he defeats Paul Burchill with a fast roll up there. So Burchill getting caught unawares in a decent lengthy match there, and a good one at that. So we did, in fairness, give this the steal the show aim as well, just because Rey Mysterio is such a talent. He can get a good match out of anyone, but Paul Burchill's certainly no slouch in his stats either, so seems to have provided an excellent partner here for Mysterio, and it seems to me that when all else fails and you need a good match, Mysterio is your man to go with. It almost makes me regret, actually, maybe not moving Rey Mysterio further up the card, but just had a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth for the kind of stuff they did in real life with Rey Mysterio, and I kind of didn't want that stigma affecting this save necessarily, so I went in a very different direction. But by the looks of it, if you did decide to go with Rey Mysterio as one of your top stars, you certainly wouldn't be making a big mistake, because this guy really is on fire right now, and yeah, depending on where this save goes in the future, I'll definitely have to spotlight more plans for Rey, because yeah, matches like these are exactly where you want to be on an episode of SmackDown. So great stuff from him, and a really strong segment this episode needed, so I'd love to see it. And then next we've got Shane McMahon promising Melina, Nitro and Mercury that he will give them backup if they face the Mexicals later tonight, and Melina accepts. So story here, Shane McMahon, his tag team, Kid Nash and Jamie Noble, the Mexicals got involved with their match, kind of upset things there, again undermining Shane McMahon's authority. He's had enough. This has happened twice in a row now, and Shane is taking matters into his own hands by hiring the WWE Tag Team Champions, no less, to essentially take out the Mexicals. So the match is booked. Now, here's the thing. This is a six-man, or six-person, should I say, mixed tag team match, because Shane wants Shelley in the ring, and he wants Melina to basically teach her a lesson as well. So Shelley is not escaping this one if Shane McMahon has his way. And the titles are not on the line here. Shane has made the point to Nitro and Mercury that you go out there and you kick the Mexicals' asses. Like, I want you to just destroy them, okay? And the rules are going to be relaxed here. Just go out there and do what you need to do to make sure these guys don't walk out of there in one piece. So expecting a huge brawl here, and Shane says the same goes for Melina as well. He wants her to do a number on Shelley to pay back the Mexicals for their disrespect. So yeah, the challenge has been laid down there by Shane McMahon, and his hired guns very much ready and able to meet that task that he has set out before them. Okay, and next we've got Roddy Piper, who we haven't seen in a while, praising William Regal over what he said about getting respect, and Regal considers Piper's words. So, Roddy Piper, we last saw him making the announcement that he wants to take part in the Royal Rumble in a rather gripping promo, I seem to remember. And William Regal, of course, as of late, has shifted into more of this tough guy fighter gimmick. Came out and gave a promo where he criticised the young workers in the locker room, saying that they don't show enough respect and that he was going to have to change his attitude to essentially beat some respect out of them. So William Regal, known for being a guy who takes on proteges and kind of coaches guys up, well, he's had very much a reversal of attitude here, where he's calling them out for being lazy, disrespectful, and yeah, William Regal as the tough guy fighter wants respect, and he seems to have drawn some praise from the old guard here. And even though Roddy Piper is a babyface, Piper says to him, look, I don't like you. I don't like the way you do business necessarily, but I respect what you said. You were right. The youngsters here do need to show more respect to us old-timers. And yeah, so Roddy Piper, of all people, agreeing with William Regal here, kind of giving him pause for thought. So we'll see what happens next on this story of William Regal's tour here on SmackDown. Okay, and next we've got Paul Burchill yelling at Rey Mysterio backstage after their match when JBL returns with Finlay in tow, and as expected, a brawl breaks out. So poor Rey Mysterio can't seem to catch a break here. Everywhere he turns is just strife, and more strife, and now you've got JBL, Finlay, Mysterio and Burchill, all of our upper mid-card workers here, all fighting backstage, and it's complete chaos here on SmackDown. So Rey Mysterio, a great performance from him, and another segment just to kind of blow off some of the simmering tensions here in our upper mid-card division. So I'd love to see it. Alright, and here's that tag match that we just talked about. So, not the best match, but it is Eminem defeating the Mexicals when Melina is the one who pins Shelly Martinez there. So, and we've also got a run-in from Shane McMahon as well, who heads down to the apron. Just as Martinez comes off the ropes, he grabs Shelly's leg, trips her up, and that's when Melina takes advantage, hits her finisher there, and gets the pin for her team. So it is Melina walking out of this one as the winner. And yeah, even though the description there said we've got a poor match, we are in the green. And I think part of that was due to how we booked this one. So it was booked as a bit of a chaotic match where, you know, psychology out of the window necessarily, all about high spots and brawling, and it seems as it says there that the chaos of the match helped hide Shelley's inexperience a little bit, which is a really good news for the segment rating. So the story here, quite transparent. Shelley was in the match just to take the loss, to make sure we could heat up the other team, and it also of course pays off the story between Shane McMahon and the Mexicals, where tensions are continuing to simmer, and that certainly doesn't get any better when the Mexicals, in helping up Shelley there, look up to see a smug Shane glaring back at them from the stage. So Shane very happy here with Melina's group, getting them to do his dirty work for him, and yeah, we'll just have to see where this one heads next as SmackDown goes to the Royal Rumble this Sunday. And then, as Melina heads to the back to kind of give her, to take her victory lap and give her victory speech in an interview segment, it is Hikaru Hokuto and her contingent of Japanese women wrestlers here, their faction Risen Sun, who approach Melina and reiterate Akira's challenge for the Royal Rumble, which went unanswered last week. and Melina has no choice but to accept, as when she turns around she realizes in a rather amusing little bit, Nitro and Mercury have actually exited stage left and left Melina hanging. So just a funny little bit here where Melina, surrounded by these women, has to agree to Akira's demands. So by the looks of it, it will be Melina and Akira at the pay-per-view at the Royal Rumble. So we'll have to see where on the card that one sits. But for now, everything all in order for the rise of Akira here on SmackDown. Okay, wow. Another strong segment here, despite some of the warnings. It is William Regal asking The Undertaker about that glare he gave him last week. So if you remember, it was William Regal, after he delivered that promo about wanting respect from the youngsters in the locker room. The Undertaker came out for his match. The two passing ships in the night, kind of exchanged glances on the rampway, and it was Undertaker giving William Regal the death stare and quizzing Undertaker about this. Taker says to Regal that he agrees as well, that the locker room has gone soft. So the Undertaker, of course, I think around this time was starting his switch of gimmick himself into like the MMA fighter gimmick as well, kind of freshening up the dead man persona a little bit. So that's one of the main reasons that we've stuck these two in the same segment here, to kind of play off on each other with those gimmicks kind of working in tandem. But the interesting thing here is that Undertaker, of course, has a dark side to him as well, and him as well as Piper now, another member of the old guard, agreeing with what Regal said. So Regal again, quite surprised here that he's getting so much praise for his words from men who he thought would be dead set against him. So interesting stuff here on William Regal's transformation, not running into the kind of resistance he might have expected, at least, like I said, from the old guard here. So where will this story develop next? We'll just have to wait and see. But as always, The Undertaker, a mysterious spirit here, never kind of giving the answer one might expect. And for William Regal, that's given him a lot to think about as his segment draws to a close here on this episode of SmackDown. Okay, getting very close now to the main event, and it is Randy Orton now backstage firing up Mark Henry, and it is Henry telling Batista that his time as champion is up this Sunday. So Mark Henry imminently will face Bobby Lashley to become the number one contender for Dave Batista's World Heavyweight Championship. He just needs to get through Lashley, and then that spot at the pay-per-view is assured. So Randy Orton psyching up his buddy here, and in a couple of segments time that main event will go ahead. So Mark Henry heading out to the ring now, preparing for the big match. And before we get there, it is Bobby Lashley in another segment, just to spotlight himself again, and it's a quick one this time. After psyching himself up in the dressing room, it is Bobby Lashley punching a hole in the locker room wall as he leaves for the ring. So Bobby Lashley looking totally and utterly ready now for this number one contenders match. But before we start it, there's just one more little bonus scene, and it is Batista, who hits the ringside area, grabs himself a seat, sits down with a title on his shoulder, and he's got the best seat in the house ready now to scout his potential challengers from the commentary desk. So Dave Batista has taken a seat, and he is looking forward to this battle of the behemoths now between Mark Henry and Bobby Lashley. So once more, the winner of this main event will face Batista at the Royal Rumble in the main event for the SmackDown side, where they will face Batista for the World Heavyweight Championship. So, who is it going to be? It is going to be Mark Henry, who defeats Bobby Lashley with the pin after a World's Strongest Slam coming off of the distraction from Randy Orton. So Randy Orton getting involved in the match, as we probably knew he would do, and he has cost Bobby Lashley the title opportunity here. It is Mark Henry becoming number one contender in a decent match here for our SmackDown main event. And then after the match, it is Batista getting into the ring, getting in Mark Henry's face, and Batista raising the belt there to taunt Henry ahead of the match they will be having this Sunday. But we're not quite done, because it is Randy Orton who hits the ring now after his interference earlier, and he goads Batista into taking a swing at Henry, which causes a fight to break out between the two men. So Randy Orton retreats to the outside. Bobby Lashley, of course, still out there recovering, and it is Batista and Mark Henry now having to be separated by a sea of officials, referees, and backstage personnel as a brawl is broken out in the very final segment here on SmackDown. So as we go off the air, it is Batista and Mark Henry just trying whatever they can to get at each other, and like I said, you've just got a sea of people trying their best to hold back these two monsters from destroying each other before we even get to the Royal Rumble. So there you have it. That is it. It will be Batista and Mark Henry for the world title, and you can bet that things are going to get pretty heated when those two face off with each other in the middle of the ring. So we finish our show, and it's a decent rating of 74 as well. So there you have it. Definitely some weaker segments in the middle there, as expected. Still a lot of work to do with the storylines, general popularity of the wrestlers, always the same story. But the main thing is here, we had a decently strong show as the go-home episode to the Royal Rumble for the SmackDown side. So that is it.